Hello, this is Dr. Bittiker. I'm back for another one of our programs. Today, I thought we might want to cover a thing called somatopause. We've been covering a series of the pauses over these last few weeks and months. And somatopause is the thing that happens as we get older, is that our body, basically the soma, the body, the muscles begin to just shrink. They're not as strong as they used to be. A lot of things start to change the body. There's a technical term for it. It's called sarcopenia, loss of muscle mass as we get older and other systems in our body function less adequately. And so there's something we can do about this. Now, one of the things we do when we do an examination on our patients for our nutritional consulting and others is we do a series of tests that are kind of like biomarkers tests to try and pinpoint exactly where this patient is along the scale of their biological age compared to their chronological age. You have some people that may be 80 years old chronologically, but biologically they may be only 50 or 60. And we've seen people going the other way. I've seen people that are only 45 but have the body and the longevity expectation of somebody who's in their 80s or 90s. Not too good. So it can go both ways. Well, the trick is to pinpoint those things that you could change. Now, one of the things we do in our examination on our patients is we don't look for anything we can't do something about. I mean, why would I figure out a test that could predict how long you're going to live and then not be able to do anything about it? I wouldn't do that. These are all things you can do something about. You can stop this from occurring. You can prolong your life by doing a couple simple things, and we're going to show you that. Now, let me give you a little bit of research on how this works and some of the things we use. This is some scientists at the University of College London's Medical Research Council did the series of these studies. They put them together. It was the study examined the data from 33 other separate studies measuring physical capabilities. Now, what were they looking for? Well, 14 studies, including data on 53,476 people, dealt with grip strength. We use a dynamometer, a JMAR dynamometer, to measure that in our patients. And the researchers say that the death rate among the weakest people was almost actually 1.7 times greater than among the strongest participants. Grip strength. We have our patients squeeze it and we measure their grip strength and we get an idea. And and you'd be surprised how closely this correlates with how long people are going to live. Also, they did some additional studies. In this particular one, they found out that among not just older people, people over 60, but people under 60, younger people, that the grip strength and also tidal volume, which is how much air they could breathe in and out, correlated very closely to how long they were going to live. In other words, it could predict 20, 30, 40 years in advance how long you were going to live, in a ballpark sort of thing. Nothing's 100%. There's always exceptions to this rule. There are some other tests, too, that are surprisingly simple and give you some ideas of how long you're going to live. One of them is how quickly you get out of a chair. How quickly can you stand up? The other is your body mass index. We have a machine that measures through electrical impedance the amount of body mass you have as far as what part is muscle, what part is fat. And I can tell you that as your percentage of fat goes up as you get older, whether your weight may stay the same or not, but it goes up as you get older because you're replacing fat cells with muscle cells. Actually, replacing muscle cells with fat cells is what's going on. And there's a reason for all that. But one of the things we do is that we measure these things in our patients. Another thing to measure is cerebellar function. Like we do a simple cerebellar test where we have patients close their eyes and touch the finger to the tip of their nose and some other things like that. And we have them stand in one place. We have them stand with their eyes closed. That tests cerebellar function. Again, it correlates quite closely with your longevity. So we kind of get a picture of the patient's true chronological age as compared to their biological age. We also find out that certain parts of the body simply age faster than others. I mean, I may have somebody who's 60 years old, but they got the knees of an 80-year-old. Or I'm not picking on an 80-year-old. Or you may have somebody who has a very healthy heart. We measure that by the arterial stiffness test. And blood pressure, and also auscultation, me listening to the heart. But they also may have, say, for instance, kidney indicators on the laboratory test that indicate they're getting into kidney dysfunction. So every organ system has a different lifespan, so to speak. So we try and pinpoint which one of those organ systems is not working correctly with the person and then bring that up to speed. Now, the good news is that there's things you can do about all this. And I'm going to show you some things that you can do about this. As I said, grip strength was one of the best predictors of overall mortality. There's some other things that can be done as far as exercise goes. I remember one of my other programs, I mentioned about something as simple as walking 20 minutes a day. Just 20 minutes a day. You get in about 140, 150 minutes a week of walking. That's walking at a fairly brisk pace. Doesn't have to be any spectacular. You get darn near a 50% reduction in all mortality and about a 28% reduction in cancers. You'd be surprised how just walking can reduce your cancer mortality rates. Another thing, if you have difficulty walking, another thing you can do, and this reduces all mortality rates by about 35%, something as simple as standing up. I mean it. I have patients that actually get little timers. They have a little timer, they set it for 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes, whatever they're doing, they just stand up. You don't have to really walk around that much. You just kind of stand up and maybe turn around and sit back down again. Again, the studies show that those people that do this 3 or 4 times an hour just stand up, maybe walk across the room, come back down, sit down, go back to what you're doing. Even if you're working on a computer all day long, you simply live about 35% longer than people that don't do that. Sedentary lifestyle is very, very, very damaging to you. Another goal you can set for yourself is 10,000 steps a day. Sounds like a lot, but once you get used to it, it's not that difficult. And by a day, I mean maybe at least 3 to 4 days per week that you do that, maybe 5 days a week. You can take a breather on a couple of days, but that's not, we're not talking all at one shot. You can get one of those pedometers if you want and just measure how much you walk, and you'll find out that you're probably coming close to, a lot of you are coming close to that anyway. It's, you know, if you're on your feet most of the day, you probably do that anyway. But just simple physical activity like that has a profound effect on your longevity. Also, learning new activities. Your brain is plastic. By that I mean it actually can be, your brain is a muscle. If you're going to build muscle, you're going to find out that you got to build your brain cells first, because brain cells and nervous system cells being created are what creates the muscles. Got that? Not the other way around. You got to grow a nerve before you grow a muscle cell or muscle fiber. Got that? So it starts with the brain first, all this activity. That's one of the reasons why we find out that people that do regular aerobic activity, regular particular weight training exercises, have simply much less dementia, Alzheimer's. It usually cuts the rate by almost 50%. You also throw in there getting their vitamin D levels checked. We find out that there's an amazing decline in the incidence of Alzheimer's among people that maintain adequate vitamin D levels in their blood supply. And we measure that through a test. I consider an optimal range to be around the 60 to 70 range. I'd say 80% of my patients come in under 30. That's below normal. Okay, now what are some things you can do to reverse this somatopause, this loss of muscle mass? Well, one of them is exercise. And one of your very best books that you can get on this is a book called AstroFit, ASTROFIT. This was a book written by a guy named Evans, who does research for the National Aeronautics and Space Administration on the effects of weightlessness on astronauts. Sometimes these guys go into orbit for almost a year, and when they come back down to Earth, sometimes they got some major problems. The researchers noticed right away that when these astronauts spent a lot of time in outer space, they came back to Earth, and it says it's almost as if they'd aged 10 or 20 years in the few months they were up there. Here's what they would see in these people. They would see loss of bone mass, osteoporosis, common thing is you see people that get older. You'd see major loss of muscle mass called sarcopenia. You'd also see somewhat depressing effects upon the cardiovascular system. Also, their cognitive functions and balancing functions, particularly balance, were way off. These are all heralding signs of aging as you get older. I mean, you know, one of the things that police officers do when they do a sobriety test on people is they try and have them stand in one place and walk a straight line. Well, I'm telling you that anybody over the age of 60, whether you're stone sober, you're going to have trouble doing that, because it's inevitable decline that occurs with the system because of the lack of training. Now, in that book, he specifically goes over some things you can do to reverse these conditions. He has exercises for balance. It's really well done. I've had patients that could hardly stand up. Their balance is so bad. A couple months of this, and they can stand on one leg. It's the exercises are in there. AstroFit by Evans. Also, he goes over some nutritional things I'm going to recommend here too. But the other thing is the exercise, and the way they do it is the eccentric concentric exercise. A simple test is, let's say you're going to do a biceps curl like this. You take maybe 7 to 10 seconds to let it go down, let it hold for 2 seconds and bring it back up like that, and you use light weights. That's the way to do it. That's eccentric concentric exercises, and you can build huge muscles. And one of the ways you can tell that you're doing okay is when you either get the cogwheeling effect, the muscle goes like this, that we call that coggling, or you feel the burn, or when you're really getting into decent shape, the muscle actually hypertrophy a little bit. It's called the pump. It actually gets some vasodilation. That's because you've torn down the muscle fibers a little bit, and they've stimulated them to regrow, and then you don't exercise for at least 24 to 48 hours in the same area. Most people over-exercise and use too much weight. You heard that right. Particularly as you get older, you want to save your joints. Because what you're actually really exercising is the brain, because the brain is what tells the muscles and the tendons, which actually govern the strength of your muscles more than the muscles themselves are. They're the ones that tell them to manufacture the extra tissue through stem cell production to actually make more muscle fiber. Now, what can you do nutrition-wise here to help with that? Well, first thing to find out is that a lot of times the older people may be consuming enough protein, but they're not breaking it down. We see this all the time. That's why we recommend a thing called enzyme HCl. It's a two-phase digestive. Part of it breaks down the stomach, part of it in the intestinal tract. It's also got the uracilic acid. Uracilic acid, which is found in ox bile, so this is not for you vegetarians. It has been found to suppress a gene that inhibits muscle building. So this actually does two things. It helps you break down your protein, but also helps the body to build muscle fiber. We also use the SRQ10. Remember, we covered on another program. This causes the mitochondria in the cells to multiply, and the mitochondria are what produces the energy that the cells build with, and also the stem cells use to rebuild and create new muscle tissue and also regenerate your brain. So that's what this is for. The multivitamin here preparation, this is the one with the methyl donors in it. This stops the DNA damage that occurs from exercise activity because you got some oxidative reaction there. Plus it makes the mitochondria work better. Here's the one I like, one of the best of all for my patients, is I put them on a whey protein. Now this is a specially made whey protein by Pure Encapsulation. You go to their website, Pure Caps, and read it. But it's high in a particularly unique type of amino acid called, well, it's got arginine in it, but it's also got glutamine. This is the, here's a study. If I can get my little computer to pull it up here. Here's a study from the European Journal of Biochemistry. Here's a study that showed that the use of glutamine, which is what's concentrated in whey protein, did a dramatic improvement in muscle building. Here's a Journal of Physiology done in 1996. Here they had 30% increases in muscle strength in a matter of like 6 to 8 weeks. Here's another study from the Nutrition Science News. Again, glutamine. There's multiple studies that are used show that the glutamine and the other amino acid stacks that are in here, the branched chain amino acids, have a remarkable effect upon stimulating muscle building and also stimulating the growth hormone release. Other thing we use is the nitric oxide ultra, has the arginine in it. Again, here's more studies on that. You can go to our website, Natural Health and You, and see the products that we're talking about here. Also see the videos that I did on fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue. You can also call us at the 800-326-5838 number, or email us at sbittiker@aol.com if you want to email in a question, because that's what we were kind of covering here. And we'll answer your topics. We'll cover your information you want us to cover. So just call us up and ask a question. Also, if you wish to become a patient, just call up the 800-326-5838 number and talk to Susie. She'll set you up with an appointment. If you like us, share us with your friends. All right? Thanks for watching.